Poor Things is an absolutely incredible film-going experience, and as far as filmmaking, it's really incredible. There are very few directors out there who will make a movie like this that has a very unique vision that you can tell a director put a lot of care into this. Yorgos Lanthimos is one of those directors, and he's one of the only directors working today who has this unique vision that people want to see. A lot of people will talk about A24 or Neon or Searchlight, those movie studios that make very specific, weird content, or Annapurna Pictures. And Yorgos Lanthimos, he's not a studio. Studios often will make these films or try to cater to a niche genre, but Yorgos's films have always had this very odd, very darkly comic, and very bizarre perspective on the human condition. And I've heard his name so much over the past 10 years. I remember Dogtooth was very big when that was his first film, and then he started making movies. He made Killing of the Sacred Deer, he made The Favorite, he made The Lobster, which was probably the one that I watched that got me into his films and kind of knowing what he was all about. I remember seeing that movie, being very intrigued by it, being a little disappointed by how kind of vague and abrupt it ended. That was about 7 years ago I saw that movie. I definitely need to rewatch it. I definitely need to rewatch Killing of a Sacred Deer and The Favorite. I really do feel that his style is so unique. It's so distinct. But Poor Things, of all the films I've seen him make, I really did like this one the most because of the world of the film. And I really thought that, compared to The Lobster, which was very allegorical, but also, I guess, interesting to watch. It had a very interesting concept, like what if you could turn into an animal? And The Favorite was also like a period comedy with a pitch black twist. But this has the most unique thing he's done, which is he basically built his own world. The entire film is this immersive, very, very original environment, and I haven't really seen anything like it. The fact that Searchlight Pictures put $35 million into this adaptation of a 1992 novel, shows. And it's interesting that this is an adaptation because it feels so original, unique, and cinematic. I've not even read the novel. I didn't even know it was a novel until it was over. But there's such a clear stamp on this film. Yorgos Lanthimos makes this movie his own, and I would not have it any other way. It's such a weird, wild ride, and thank God this was playing on RPX screens in Union Square. Most of the time, when you go to see an IMAX movie, they're always reserved for crap like Ant-Man 3 or Captain Marvel 2. You'll usually get, very good films like Dune or Avatar. But I really think Poor Things is so great to experience on a huge screen. I saw this on the biggest screen I could, and it just was amazing. It's a great film. I was actually lucky to catch a screening where Mark Ruffalo and Rami Youssef were there. They appeared right before the movie. I was told there would be a Q&A with Yorgos and Emma. They didn't come, so it was kind of like a trick, but they made up for it. Mark Ruffalo and Rami Youssef appeared for like a minute. I didn't even know Rami Youssef was there. I just thought he was the moderator, honestly, because they had someone with a microphone being like, give it up for Mark Ruffalo. Didn't even introduce Rami Youssef. He just waved and then he left. But anyway, like I said, this is one of the best movies to see on a huge screen where you could stare at huge images, these very weird, very original, and strange, this vision. It's just so great. And when you go to see a movie on the largest screen possible, you want to immerse it. It's a feast that's worth watching, sumptuous visuals that take up the frame. This is a damn good movie. I also enjoyed watching this in a theater because everyone was laughing at the jokes. It's definitely made to have people constantly snickering, and you could tell people were into the movie. Every time Emma Stone or Mark Ruffalo would say something, there'd be giggles, and also the chemistry between Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo is fantastic. Really, just everything is on like in the best way possible here. Emma Stone is great. Mark Ruffalo is great. The art direction, the score, the directors, everything is just working perfectly. I would say that there was so much laughter in this movie, but which was a good thing. I really like seeing a movie that isn't a straight up comedy that everyone laughs at it. It's just a good time at the movies. The plot of the film follows Bella Baxter, who's played by Emma Stone. She's a dead woman who's reanimated with the mind of a child by her adopted father, a scientist, Dr. Godwin Baxter, who's played spectacularly by Willem Dafoe, who Bella calls God. The movie is so well paced, it never rushes, it never feels boring. It follows Bella's attempts to thrive in a society, and it's almost a Frankenstein story, kind of where she's this experiment who must go from a thoughtless woman with the mind of a child to understanding her actions and growing up and experiencing the world. And it has this great thing to say about men, about how men like women, like when they don't have that much to say. Mark Ruffalo's character starts to not like her as she, starts to talk and learn about the world. He likes just having this dumb, almost, inanimate like type of character he could just take advantage of. And I think that it's a very interesting movie. I don't want to give much away because this film really is just this odyssey of discovery and incredible world building. There's romance, adventure, black comedy, great visuals. The highlight is this world takes place in this version of Earth that isn't quite like ours. London is the first thing we get shown. It's in the stark black and white opening. I love just the small unique things like this black and white opening, how it feels like an old-timey Universal film. For instance, Willem Dafoe's character sits at a dining room table. This is just a weird thing that happens in the movie, and he's hooked up to this strange machine that's pumping blood into him, and it's not really explained, but in several scenes he just opens his mouth and this black bubble comes out. And the film is filled with these small, inspired moments, and it's just so delightful. It might come across as strange and random, but in the context of the film, it fits. There's strange experiments around his house, like half pigs, half ducks, gooses with dog's feet. And Willem Dafoe's character doesn't even drive a horse and buggy, but a mechanical carriage with a horse's head mounted to the front. And the film does not rush. It takes its time getting us used to this weird world where God is raising Bella. And we see how she's learning almost like a child. I mean, she is a child just in a human's body. And the film is so considerably interesting because it spends time in these moments. It isn't rushing you off to the next set piece. It's letting you live and experience how these characters live. And eventually God brings in a scientist, Max McCandless, who's played by Rami Youssef, to study Bella. And the film is this exploration of growth and how Bella grows as a character. And eventually McCandless, who wants to marry Bella, God brings a lawyer to make it official. It's played by Mark Ruffalo. And this is where things get complicated and Bella discovers romance and, well, more than romance. And the film becomes this wild odyssey of self-discovery and this hilarious near allegory for how men are so territorial of women. And what I found so great about Poor Things is how it really is like these series of adventures. It never feels like there ever needs to be exposition or long scenes of dialogue. It's just many moments exploring Bella's life as she's thrust into this world and discovering it for herself. And this is where I think the Kubrick comparisons are totally warranted. You don't get movies like this now. Most directors won't dedicate their entire films to this extremely confident portrait of one person that really expects you to be immersed in all its weirdness or how specific some plot elements could be. For instance, a large part of it is set on a ship. Then there's a large chunk of it that's set in a brothel in a futuristic city in this desert land. And it's not like each of these locations does serve a point, but it's not like there's this obvious conflict or broad action. It's mostly just small character moments, but they're so delightful to watch and so strange and fun. And it's filled with this raw, distinct passion and personality. I mean, I really enjoyed watching Bella's journey and just seeing how she grows up from being this naive thing to knowing more than most of the men who try to pursue her. It makes for some great comedy as well as helping to tell this real story about a woman trying to take her place in a world where she's persecuted or held down by all these men or a lot of people. And like I said, her dynamic with Mark Ruffalo's character is incredible. All the acting in this is great. And all the other characters, the way they fit seamlessly into the story is amazing. It really is just a movie I feel you wouldn't see today with how confident it is, with how strange but great it is. It's well paced, but just, so not how modern films are structured. And I really did enjoy this movie. I think, a lot of general moviegoers might go into this kind of being like, well, this looks kind of weird. But once you see it, it's not like a movie you're going to be totally shocked by. It isn't like the plot is doing anything crazy. It's telling a classic. Frankenstein is a classic monster story, and this is telling a classic story of a person discovering their place. It just does it through such a strange lens. But I really do think there aren't many directors like this who are taking these chances or making these fun movies with such confidence. So I really did enjoy Poor Things. It was not like any other film I've seen this year. And I was so happy to see it on a big screen, see it on the biggest screen you can. And I really like this movie. So thank you guys for watching. Go check out this movie.